Where am I? I don't know. I don't know whereabouts I am. I'm smack dab between not far from the Stamp River and Central Lake, I think. The timbered area. Really close to where some guys had an experience. They work at a local fishing shop. Why am I here? I don't know, why not? I want to go up and snoop around. Do something different. And get some voices heard. So we'll see how this goes. Now, where are we? So many people. I'm gonna get a bunch of these done, so I'm taking off again. Now listen to this. This is titled Bailey, Colorado Bigfoot. Steve, I was watching a video today, May 11th, 2022, and remembered the story from not too long ago. You may have seen these photos floating around on the internet. They are photos a man took from inside his house in Bailey, Colorado. He saw the creature saw him. The creature closed his eyes as if you can't see me if my eyes are closed. I've had experiences myself. 1968, about 4 miles up Kootenai Creek in the Bitterroot Valley, Montana, camping with my older brother. We were up talking to two girls that were also camping up there. They were on their way out. They were on their way up the canyon and camped at the same location. About 1 a.m. from way up the canyon, we heard what we thought were wolves howling. The hair on my neck turned to wire. It went on for a short time, then stopped. Several years later, watching a video about wolves, I heard a pack howling. It was 3 octaves higher than what we had heard that night. I'm curious, so I started looking at many videos of wolves, and all of them were a much, much higher pitch than what we had heard. Another time, years later in the same canyon, my wife and I were mountain trail running, back when we were in good shape. The canyon is very steep on both sides, with lots of overgrowth. For about half a mile, we were paralleled on our way out. Branches snapping, always about 20 yards to our right. We ran faster and kept it up until we got to the trailhead and our car. Funny stuff. Keep fighting the good fight. D. Stevens. Okay, man, thanks for that. And if I can, I'll load these photographs up. Looks weird to me. Looks really weird. I think I might have seen these before. I don't know. Doesn't matter what the photo is. The crowd's going to scream out hoax every time anyway. But I'll share them up if I remember to when I get back, man. Thanks for that email. Now, let's get down to the bottom of the list here. Alright. Listen to this. Disappearing Stump with Eyes is the title of this one. Steve, I hope this email finds you well. You too. I've written in before and a couple of times. This is just basically reporting to you what I saw last week. I was hiking in the Wrangell St. Elias National Park. Elias National Park. It's the largest national park in the U.S. at 20,000 square miles. As we walked towards the glacier, with a little glacier scrub around, I saw a large stump. Large stumps aren't near glaciers. There would be no time for a large tree to grow after the glacier ice retreated. Anyway, I stared at the stump that was probably 30 yards away. As I looked at it closer, I could tell it had eyes, and it was looking at me. So I walked towards it. I tripped a little on some brush, looked down for a second to look at the brush that was tripping me, then looked up, and the stump was gone. How many frickin' times are we going to hear that exact similar experience? You just glanced away for 1 second, back, gone. There's no sound of running, no creepy feelings, just a missing stump. I walked where it had been, and I spent 15 to 20 minutes looking around, and I found nothing out of the ordinary. 2 days later, I walked the same trail as it was getting dusk. I kept looking for the same stump that had disappeared. In the same area, within a quarter of a mile from the stump, I saw a black figure of a sabe. It was huge. I'm 5'10", and this sabe was around 12 feet tall, 5.5 feet through the shoulders, and it was black, not like a black bear. It was so black it seemed to absorb light. It was standing behind a spruce tree. It was about its same height. I saw it, waved, said, "Hello, big brother," and kept walking. I didn't want to piss it off. Like a bear, I respect these creatures, but unlike a bear, I have no real chance of winning a fight with one, much less survival. Much less several. This time when I saw Sabby, I wasn't scared or so freaked out I couldn't function. My thought was to be polite, respectful, show no fear, and keep getting distance between us. Take care and thank you for what you do. All right. You have a set on you that needs a wheelbarrow to pack them. All right? Not too many people will keep their shit together enough to actually think correctly and speak out to them, right? Not too many people. Thanks for sending that in, man. Here's another one. The Laughing Stump, an experience from Oklahoma. Please don't use my name. I work in a sensitive field, and it could affect my employment. This happened in 1970. I was 13 years old. I lived in a suburb, which was developed in 1955. My home is located by Crucho Creek, a large creek that runs through Oklahoma County. This creek connects to the North Canadian River, which eventually connects to the Mississippi. Crucho also, coincidentally, runs right through the middle of Tinker Air Force Base. This is a large creek, fairly heavy-wooded on both sides. I was returning from a friend's home about 10 p.m. It was fully dark, but with a very bright moon, no street lamps back then, it was still semi-rural in our neighborhood. I had to cross the bridge over Crucho to reach my home. I crossed this bridge a thousand times in my life and thought nothing of it. This time, however, was different. About halfway across the bridge, the smell hit me. Rotten garbage mixed with dead meat would be a good description. I stopped and looked over the railing of the bridge down to the water. I thought there was possibly a dead animal in the creek, and I saw nothing of interest. Then I heard and felt it. Something was moving under the bridge, and it was something big. It was also headed for the same end of the bridge that I was. There was a steep path that ran under the bridge and come up at the end of the walkway. I had the very clear impression it was trying to reach that point before I did. I also knew I couldn't let that happen. I left a vapor trail off that bridge. I stopped about 40 yards from the end of the bridge to look back. It came up out of the creek at exactly the spot I had feared it would. I estimate it was 8 to 9 feet tall. Its shoulders were at least 4 feet across, long arms almost down to its knees. My guess at its weight would be to 500 to 600 pounds. Like I said, it was dark with a bright moon. I could see this outline clearly, but couldn't see the facial details. We stared at each other for about 10 seconds, and then it hit me. He was very amused that he had scared me, and by how fast I had cleared the bridge. I also got that he was faster and could have caught me if he wanted to. I could feel his laughter. Now I was pissed. I was a kid that grew up hunting from the age of about 8. I was the proud owner of a .308 that I had received on my last birthday. I also owned a 12 gauge. I had taken my first year that year and was well versed in the woods. My reaction to being scared or bullied has always been anger. So I yelled back at him, "If I had my .308, you'd be laughing out the other side of your ass." LOL now. I then got a feeling of disappointment from him at my reaction. He stepped back down into the creek and was gone. I've thought about this a lot over the years. I'm 64 now, and this is what I've come up with. It's not exactly mind speak, it's more mind impression, more the sharing of feelings or of actual thought. I felt his amusement and laughter at scaring me and his disappointment that I reacted with anger. Yeah, that's kind of a different one, isn't it? Very interesting point, though. The fear I felt on the bridge was initiated by him. Again, it was a feeling, not spoken or visual. I did not hear the word run. I felt the thought run. No, I don't think he wanted to harm me. If he had, I'd be a face on a milk carton gone a long time ago. And no, I've never had any other contact with the Sabby or anything else. I hunted fish for 50 plus years and enjoyed every minute of it. I will always remember the Laughing Stump. Steve, I enjoy your content and your attitude. Keep up the good work and be safe and stay healthy. And you too. You too. That's an interesting one. Well, you know, some other people have said that we just do not understand them, right? And they obviously have some kind of a sense of humor. Do my little 360 here. There's absolutely nobody around here. There's an old thin power line right there. And I'm looking up at the Beaufort mountain range where there is a pile of ongoing things going on right there. Pile of ongoing things going on right over the bank by the river. Shit pile of things going on this way, basically right on the road. I'm right in the heart of it. Whatever. See what comes, if anything. Or not. Either way, I got every right in the world to be right here where I want to be, right? But anyway, that was a very, very interesting one. Thanks for sounding that, man. Awesome, Steve. First, let me say thank you for all you do. The channel is great and you're the best. Thanks for the kind words. Back in May 2012, I was a member of a Facebook group, blank, blank, blank. We shared knowledge and takes on how to thrive in the forest of North Carolina. Planned a 3-day camp out in Uwharrie National Forest, located in central North Carolina. There was about 12 of us attending, sitting around the campfire that evening. The subject of Sasquatch and other cryptids arose. The first episode of Finding Bigfoot on Animal Planet had already aired a few days earlier. How embarrassing. And it featured a thermal image video of an Uneasy Bigfoot. I was a believer as I had seen a sabe as a child in western North Carolina mountains. We decided to goof off and do some wood knocks. We did about a dozen groups of 3 knocks with no response. We all turned in for the night, and I and my friend Chris, who's a local police officer, had set up hammocks about 10 feet apart to sleep in. We were both laying there talking. The other campers were in tents at various spots near us, but not real close. Suddenly, this huge rock, about 70 to 100 pounds, comes crashing in from above the trees as if it launched from a catapult, crashing through limbs and landing dead center between us. We were both startled and like, what the F was that? And we jumped out of our hammocks, pistols drawn. I had a Taurus Millennium 40 cal with attached tactical flashlight, and Chris had his light and pistol drawn. And we swept the perimeter in the direction of where the rock came from. We both landed our lights on it simultaneously. This horrible, elongated, about baboon-looking monster, about 8 feet tall, but built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Muscular, evil being that roared at us, bearing huge canines. His deep roar vibrated in my chest. It vanished so quick, and we were so startled we did not have time to think about firing a weapon, and our puny 40 cals would have only pissed it off. In a flash, it turned and was gone. We didn't sleep any that night, and we were harassed many times by rocks tossed at our campsite. Several other campers had pebbles and other objects hurled at their tents as well. The next morning, we all packed up at daylight and got the hell out of there. I've not camped out nor spent any time in the deep forest since. Upon research, the type we saw is known as Gugwe, one of 10 types Sasquatch and notoriously sinister and dangerous. Look up an image of the Beast of 7 Shoots, and that is what we saw. I hope to never encounter another one. Until recently, I kept this encounter a secret, other than those there and my mom. It was different than the one I encountered when I was 7 years old. That one was more like patty-like, silver in color. It didn't strike fear in me at all and seemed to smile at me. The Gugwe was jet black, and you could plainly see the evil. That's all I got. You can share my name. Legan G. Johnson, Cherryville, North Carolina. Okay, man, gotcha. It doesn't sound like anything I want to see. But it's funny, when you mentioned that there's nothing but evil and sinister with them, well, why didn't it do anything to F you guys up? Little pebbles and a boulder, that's it, right? You would think if something with that description was known as sinister and evil, you would have put those canines to work and those muscles to work on your asses real quick, right? Easily too, right? I don't know. I haven't seen anything that looks like that before in my life, and I don't want to. I don't crave it, that's for sure. But if it happens, like I said before, I see something with a wolf's head on it, built like that, I'm gonna shoot the living shit out of it if it's standing there staring me down, which you do not do in Predator World. You just don't. You know, I've walked up on wolves and live traps, and majority of them do everything they can to not get caught in your gaze. They don't want to look you in the eye. They go like this, all insecure. Except for the alpha, actually. The alpha will stare you down with attitude at times. But for the most part, they don't want you to look at them. Interesting. Scary, terrifying frickin' sight to see. Email us back about your encounter with the silver one, alright? People are going to want to know. People want to know everything. This is titled Tree Structures in Chilliwack, my backyard. Hi Steve, I happened upon these tree structures about 3 kilometers west of Chilliwack Lake and on the north side of Chilliwack Lake Road. I thought you might be interested in looking at them. There was one other structure, but I didn't get a shot of it. We were bushwhacking through game trails on the lookout for spring black bear a month ago. Long time listener to the channel, keep doing what you're doing. Okay, man. That definitely looks, that doesn't look that normal, does it? I mean, it doesn't look like that looks like one of those games with the marbles and the sticks in it. Let's see if I can do it this way. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm gonna have to, I can't see shit on that screen because of the sunshine. Oh no, I think it's working. Isn't it? It's something else, isn't it? How is that right there? I think you can see it all right there, right? He's got a second photo here. Some more, I don't know, it just looks like trees bent over to me, but who am I, right? Some of you might be interested in that. And there you go. It's funny, this place isn't that relaxing, I can admit that. This place is making me look around way more than I do down at the river, that's for sure. But anyway, Chilliwack Lake, I've had lots of people email in from Chilliwack Lake. And notably, a guy was on the beach in his boat. He's camped on the beach at the south end of the lake. Would it be southeast? East end? And there's a river bar there you can drive up on, and he saw this thing on the beach by his camp and looked pissed, and its arm is hanging as if it was wounded. I remember that one. And he was scared shitless. And then it took off, and then some other campers, partiers showed up. I've had another guy, another bear hunter, was bear hunting somewhere around there and emailed us as well, and he heard something that scared the shit out of him as well, I believe. And I think he found a pile of scat that was enormous. That Chilliwack Lake, it's on fire there. All the time. Always. Here comes another one. Thanks for sending that in. Bet you Randy Bryson's been there. Morrison Lake, Ontario. Morrison. Morrison Lake, Ontario. I was even watching your channel and thought I could get this off my chest and out of my head. For years, my friends' parents had a cottage on Morrison Lake, Ontario, where we'd visit throughout all seasons in the 70s. We were teens that would chop wood, sled race in the winter, and motocross, fish and hunt in the off-season. We'd bring many of our friends up to party for the weekend and get loose. We decided to bring cross-country skis up on a particular weekend with a group of about 10 friends arriving on a Friday and planning to returning back to the city Sunday Eve. On the Saturday, and after a full day of sledding, we had dinner, decided to do some cross-country skiing with our personnel filled with our choice wineskins. It was freaking minus 40 up, but we were game for adventure. Our group departed the cottage on skis, home for the first time, down the road into the moonlight. His uncle had a cottage down the road. In behind the cottages was very thick brush with logging trails where we would ride our toys. From the road to the back of the cottage properties was about 200 to 300 mixed cleared feet. In front was the road, and on the other side of the road was the lake. We skied laughing our asses off at each other because some of us were green. I just bought new skis, lending my old pair to one of the friends. As the leader, most experienced, I decided to venture towards the trees/brush line off the road and hope to break through the brush and get on the trails we had been sledding on earlier during the day. The tree line was on our left, about 1,000 yards down the road between his and his uncle's cottage. The snow was a couple feet deep and very hard to ski through. I knew if we got to the trail, it would be much easier and fun for me. Street skiing sucks. 3 of the group followed me and the rest lagged behind, whining about going into the brush area. The 3 behind me were about 30 feet back following my trail. As I reached about 20 feet from the tree/bush line, I was the smallest in the group. It was totally black, and when a cloud covered the moon, complete darkness. I stood there staring at what I thought was someone/something moving in the shadows of the dark brush line. I moved a couple feet closer and said, "Hey!" Whatever it was, it first growled in a very low tune, finishing with a high-pitched squealing "wee," which could easily be heard back to the road and probably the other side of the lake. It was so loud it felt like it torn the skin off my body and removed my soul, LOL. I froze in shock for a good moment, waiting for whatever it was to come out and take me away. It could have had its way with me, no problem, and knew it. I could sense it, telling me to go away. I fumbled trying to turn around with the skis falling off. It felt like it was taking forever to turn around. When I finally did, the 3 that were behind me were long gone, back on the road and down the street. I broke a ski in all the panic of trying to reach the road, and when I did finally reach it, there was only one friend there waiting to see if I was coming back, and the rest of the group raced down the street back to the cottage. When I did get back to the cottage, the group asked what the F was that. Holy F, we didn't think you were coming back. The cottage had an outhouse out back that backed into the brush line. Nobody used it for the rest of the weekend, and we left the city clearly early Sunday. I told them I thought I'd seen someone else out there. Someone really large, casting a huge shadow in the darkened brush line. We were all quiet Saturday Eve and Sunday, returning home with much on our minds. And no, I haven't spoke with these guys since. Weird, eh? Thanks for listening and telling your story, Steve. As for our governed leadership, fired. All them fuckers. Yeah. Fired or hung. I think number 2 would be my choice. But anyway, is it weird you haven't all talked to each other? Nope. It's not weird now. Right? How many of you out there have shared the same thing? Seen it together, never spoke of it, or even spoke to each other ever again. It's all too common. And obviously that has something to do with a human psychological trait, right? Where you just want every single thing associated with that extremely terrifying experience to leave your soul. And that includes the people involved, right? Anything that'll take you back there. Get me out of that memory. It's got to be what's going on. I'd imagine. I'll give you guys a 360 before I leave. Pretty quiet around here. A couple flies. No birds. Pretty quiet. I'll give you guys a 360 before I go. I'm going to take you to another spot after this. Take us to another spot after this. Okay, this is a very short one. This might even be our shortest ever. Navigation. Steve, a few people have asked about how you navigate the backcountry, GPS, compass, and map, etc. A good side story. Thanks. Love your channel and your openness to read the story of the people, Tommy. Tommy, to be honest, no, I don't use a compass. I don't use the GPS. The only place I've ever had a GPS in my life is on my boat, and I use that to get on my halibut spots, and that's it. I'm just an old school bush guy. British Columbia is very, very easy to navigate as long as you know which direction the water drains to and what drain you are in. if or when before you lose your way. So yeah, compass. I don't even have a compass. Some may think that's irresponsible, but guess where I've been and guess where I am right now. I'm still alive and I'm here with you guys. But on that note, the only times I've been turned around in British Columbia was due to fog, and that's it. Fog or absolute pitch black. But even then, during that time when I was absolutely didn't know where the hell I was in pitch black, I was with like 20 horses, 2 other people. It was 2 in the morning. Unfortunately, a younger guide was in the lead, and I don't know why I let him even take 10 seconds of the lead, because he could have possibly killed us or the horses. Storm, a early winter storm. This is the northern Rockies, middle of nowhere, and a storm cut loose, pitch black, snow, sleet, freezing frickin' cold, sitting on these damn horses for I think the 10th hour. It was 2 in the morning, and then I noticed he was leading us in circles in a stunted spruce patch on top of this plateau we're supposed to be crossing. So I remember that. But other times I've been hanging by myself, and as soon as the fog rolls in, and here's a note for all of you: when the fog rolls in and you're in timber, you're not near a road or a pathway, you better do something about it. You better react quickly, or don't. God, I swear I seen something over there just now. Or don't panic and don't lose where you are. Possibly, if you have to and you can, stay put till the fog's gone, because the fog will ruin everything. But another thing on side note is the first time I went to the southern U.S., I flew into Memphis, Tennessee. I was taken by some guys. We road tripped to a small town in Missouri to go turkey hunting, and we went into those woods in the dark. I did not know where I was, and every single, it was flat-ish, just little tiny rolly rolls through the timber, those hardwoods, and I, for the life of me, didn't have a clue how the hunters navigated that shit. No mountains in the horizon, nothing in the horizon for me to go by, which I grew up doing and still do today. But I'll tell you what, for me, when you're in those endless hardwood forests that go forever, and there's no horizon, and you don't have a compass, that for me that's recipe for disaster. Especially for me, never being there before. I wasn't familiar with where the roads were. I wasn't familiar where the roads were there, where any ponds were. There wasn't any creeks or rivers. Just the odd pond, roly. Something's up here. Absolutely not relaxed. I heard something twice over there, and I thought I saw something go like greased lightning just over the horizon of those trees and this rock right there. I know I did. Could have been a bird. I am not relaxed here at all. All right, I'm going to share one more. We're going to go to the head of the river, drive farther in. And carry on from there. Okay, this is titled Weird Hunting Trip. Hi Steve, my name is Dakota. Been listening to you on YouTube for the past 6 months, and I'm proud to say that this channel is a humble platform to get the message out and let the people at the round table of knowledge share their encounters. I'm not a member yet at the table of knowledge, but I possibly could be, just don't know for sure, because I physically did put my eyes on this being. Here we go, I'll share my story just to get it off my chest because it haunts me every time I think about it. Anyway, 13 years old, I went hunting at the hunting cabin with my family and friends. This is supposed to be just a weekend trip, which it was. It was just different from times I've been in the woods growing up as a kid. I live in Pennsylvania, and our hunting cabin is off an 8-mile dirt trail in Snowshoe, Pennsylvania called Devil's Elbow. There's a handful of cabins as you go back this pipeline trail head There's endless dirt roads which can easily get lost on no matter how many times you've been back there. There's hundreds of pipeline heads that need to be maintained all the time. The mountain laurel gets so thick at times you can't even weave your way through them to put on drives or anything. Anyways, we went out the day before buck opened in rifle season and marked the trail back to our tree stand with reflective tape. My dad and I, 3 years before that, built a 2-platform tree stand off the ground because it was so thick with mountain laurel. The trail back there, if you're walking in slow, is about an hour, but that's where the deer always were. So we'd get up around 3 a.m. to drive out of there and walk back before light. This morning should have been an easy hike in since we were just back there the day before to make sure a dead tree hasn't fallen on our redneck tree stand. But as we started walking back, the terrain changed. We were following our marked trees and seemed like we were going the right way until half an hour, and we noticed the terrain was going uphill now. That's not normal, because it's flat terrain until you get to our tree stand, which stands on a steep mountain on one side and the ridge on the other. Every time I've been in that tree stand, the deer always come up from the hillside till they get to my side, till they get to my stand. They're pointing, they're panting, and walk slowly past the stand at 30 yards away. Some missing punctuation, be patient. But now, we are not recognized the terrain and should have been in our spot by now. When all of a sudden, my dad says, "This isn't right." We're turned around somehow, and I say to him, "How can that be? We've been following this marked tape trees." As soon as I said that, something big got up 20 yards in front of us and bushwhacked his way back through the thickest of laurel ever. Sounded like a freight train. I was scared to death. I said to my dad, "What the hell was that?" He said, "Probably a bear." And I said, "That was one fast bear and big bear." But at this point, we were lost, and I had to wait till light to get our bearings back. As soon as the sun came up, we noticed we were about 20 yards from the truck, and it was impossible for that to happen. We walked in a straight line for 30 minutes. We stood there for a few minutes trying to figure this out rationally, but had no damn clue. I'm a believer in these Sasquatch beings, and I have a feeling that's what we stumbled on that morning. I mean, how do you explain the reflector tape that leads us right back to the truck when we just put it out the other day? And to this day, me and my dad think it's the most strangest thing that ever happened. Anyways, I always wanted to share this. Now I know it isn't as good as everyone else's encounters on this site, but I still can't figure out what turned us around that day. And it sounded like a train ripping through the forest. And one thing, it ruined our hunt for that day. We went back to the cabin and my dad kept saying, "This makes no sense at all." Anyways, thanks for the platform to share. You're one of the nicest men I know, and today in this world, and that's hard to find. Keep up the good work. Maybe one day we can solve this. I also want to say thank you for the people speaking up about this. My whole, like I talked about Sasquatch and believed in him. Hopefully maybe someday I'll have a sighting, or maybe I won't want to. I don't know. I just know there's stuff in this world that goes bump in the night. I've had those feelings people get. Sorry for the horrible grammar. Steve, keep up the good work, and maybe someday we'll cross paths and shoot the shit. Who knows? Thanks. God bless you and the USA. From Dakota R. Okay, Dakota, thanks. You know what I'm going to say. You know what it was already. You know what it was? How do I know you already know? Because you went out of your way to email us. And that's a big effort. It's a big effort for me to even frickin' reply to a text these days. So I can vouch for that. It is a big effort to go out of your way, find a place like this, dig up the email address, and go to typing, and go to sending. It's a big effort. And only people that do it are people that have seen these damn things or know what they know. You know what it was. Before you email us, you already know what it is. But anyway, I don't envy that one either. I don't envy any of them. So I'm going to give you a quick 360 and I'm going to carry on. I'm going to pre-make a bunch of these before I leave here. And while you guys are watching these, I'll be bashing the shit out of myself on the ocean again. I heard something that way, and I seen something that way. That's all I got. What was it? I don't know. Here we go. All right. There's something out there, without a doubt. Sounded like thick bark getting stepped on out there. This is behind me. You guys are already watching all that. Just over the banks of the river, there's the Beaufort Range Mountains. And as the crow flies, my place is that direction. I don't know how many miles, handful. There's the 360. All right, be safe out there. I'll be back.